Now, what else did you? So you went down to see Governor Daniels, and he must have been horrified. He must have been horrified about all this abuse be done to this boy.
The gentleman that I talked to just didn't seem to have any interest in it whatsoever. Said that Governor Daniels couldn't do anything about it. So.
And we were hoping that by taking all the legal documents and the documentation from the doctor and their words of what they had observed and seen that Noah had been sexually abused, that he would be able to step in and do something to protect Noah, because we had heard different times that he was, supposed to be fighting for these abused kids, but when we tried to get him help for our son, nobody would listen. In fact, this was one of the articles that we wanted Governor Daniels to hear, and this was from Dr. Henry Martin, the child psychologist, and he writes in here, July the 25th of 2002, because we wanted to go back as far as possible to show him that there was a history, so we took everything from 99 all the way up to the current date. And he wouldn't listen to any of it, but this was so pertinent. It says the recent episode was Bart coming to Deana's house at 10 o'clock p.m. on Sunday night, July the 14th, 2002, demanding she get Noah up out of bed so that Bart could examine Noah's bottom. Of course, Deana refused. This was because this was right, July the 8th, was when Dr. Fox had said, yes, he had been sexually abused, and there was bruising and dilation in his rectum. And Bart wanted to look at his rectum. Also, Noah is starting to make more comments of things that he has experienced while being at his grandparents, Fred and Mary Ellen, and with his father, Bart. His last comment to his mother was that he licked Bart's and Fred's penises. Then the other time that Dr. Martin had documented was August 8th of 2002, 2 weeks later. It says, observation, Noah initially wants to play. However, when we start to talk about any of the issues regarding his visits with his father and grandfather, Fred, he begins to block and becomes more agitated and avoiding. He was able to verbalize about a box that his father and grandfather have. Included in that box is lotion, and he motioned to his private parts where they put the lotion. However, he was not able to talk about anything else and was obviously agitated. I have continued to encourage and reinforce that Noah his abilities to label those feelings and express them. And we were hoping that by taking this in there, actually being in documents from the doctors, that Governor Daniels would see it and see that this is important, that we've got nowhere.
Governor Daniels points with great pride about DCS receiving an award from First Star and Prevent Child Abuse being a superior DCS office. And obviously, it's just smoke and mirrors.
Well, in our case, we have not had any help whatsoever. And we are still, to this day, trying to get something done on behalf of Noah, because when I was arrested December the 3rd of 2007, he was taken from us and put in foster care. And they, the foster parents that he's with, have told us that he is exhibiting anxiety in different, whenever they testify in court, that there are certain things that he says and he does.
And you've had no contact with him for how long?
Since December the 3rd of 2007. Because Judge Jessup, on the stipulation of my bond and letting me bond out on the $50,000 bond, it was that I have no contact with my son, and if I do have any contact with my son, that he will not hesitate to take him away from me permanently and strip me of my parental rights. When he found out that my husband had visitation with our son, he told him if he finds out that he's having any more visits, that I will go back to jail, and that he will not hesitate to strip me of my parental rights there too.
Now, has no one ever said he'd been videotaped by Daniel, his father?
By Bart?
Bart, his father.
He said that he had described to us magic pictures. And we had turned this in to the authorities and told them about it, and nothing was done about it. He has described, he said, they're magic pictures, and it's paper that they put in water, and he said then they put them in a dark room and they magically appear. And we asked him about the pictures. He said he was taken to a naked store, and in that naked store he said that there was pictures of naked people all over. And it was him and 4 other boys that was taken into, and he names the boys and has told Child Protective Services who these boys are. And no one has questioned these other boys to check to see if they're safe or if their health is all right, if there is anything going on. He has described pornographic pictures being done of him and these boys. And those pictures, he says, in one case, the boys are all stripped of their clothes and they're holding guns. And they've taken these pictures of these boys. But when we go to try to get anybody to investigate this, even DCS, no one has even went to question the children.
You know, obviously the question is, who's paying them off?
That's crossed our minds, because we can't understand why. I mean, with all the evidence, everything that we've got, and there's just no way. Noah started telling us this when he was 2, different things that was going on and that was happening, and there was no way that he could have made it up. His body language when he goes into hysterics and he's screaming and he's crying and he's in a fetal position and begging and pleading. In fact, when we went to the state police department to go in and talk to him and give him information, and the officer, as soon as he mentioned the grandparents and Bart, his father, Noah then got agitated, started screaming and crying, and went into a fetal position beside the chair and did not want to talk to the officer.
And we were also told by Grant County DCS that for any questioning to be done of anyone else involved in this, any information that we give them of people that are involved, that those people would have to come forward.
Yes.
That they couldn't go and question those people.
They can't go and see if those children are fine, if they are safe, or if this is really going on. That these parents or anybody associated with this, the children, have to make this report, and that they can't go on our report.
DCS has done far more and far less. DCS would, in the past, when we would investigate children who may have possible diaper rash, and they go after their parents with felony charges.
And yet they tell us that they can't. We've told them, we've given descriptions. Even my son has given descriptions, has given information during the interviews, and nothing has been done. We
have to ask ourselves, who is paying off the minions of DCS? How much money is this worth to some people? So Noah was videotaped. Have you gone to, in pictures taken, obviously, you've gone to the FBI in Indianapolis. What happened down there? Surely they must have been shocked.
Even trying to get the information across was almost impossible. They just acted like they didn't want to hear anything. Any information that I did give them, that they would say that someone would be in contact, and never hear anything from them.
And then they would refer us to Lafayette.
Yes.
And then we'd contact Lafayette. We'd have to go through it all over again, get that information, and they act like they didn't want to hear it, or that we were crazy, and that it was impossible for what we were telling them, what information that we were telling them. That, and we told we had proof of everything. We told we had medical documentation. We have, that we would take a polygraph. We've asked over and over. We have asked the Sheriff's Department. We've asked DCS. We've asked anybody that we can talk to that is in a position of authority. We've said, give us a polygraph test. We will tell you what we know about these nude pictures taken of the children, what our son calls a naked store, about the abuse, about other children that are involved, and no one will get, we've begged, and nobody will give us a polygraph.
Now, I understand Bald used to be a Boy Scout leader.
Yes.
And what happened here?
He was removed after allegations had came from
5 different contacts.
That was sent to the Boy Scouts stating that inappropriate behavior with Bart, with the boys.
Now, this was up in Howard County? Or?
Yeah. Well, Logansport is where Bart's from, but I guess who he has to answer to was Howard County.
Okay.
For the
regional office.
And the Boy Scouts sounded like they were doing what they were supposed to be doing, protecting these children.
Right.
Yes, and they removed Bart. They took him out of the Scouts. Bart brought a lawsuit against the Scouts, trying to get back in, knowing it was costing taxpayers. And he fought them for years, trying to get back into the Boy Scouts. And we were given documentation from an attorney that there was information that were 5, and one of them being an official, 5 people.
A government official or something on that order?
An official had even made a complaint against Bart. And that was one of the reasons that he was, because of their child that was in the Scouts.
Now, we want to be sure our viewers of this video know that all these documentation, and you brought about a foot deep stack of documentation. This incredible story is true, it's documented, it's proofed.
Yes, and in fact, we've even got more documentation if anybody would be interested in it. We've got 4 totes that are 2 foot wide, would you say? About 4 foot long and 2 foot wide that are full of documentation of stuff that we've got, of court transcripts where we paid $8,000 for one set of court transcripts, $5,000 for another set of court transcripts, word for word what has transpired in the courtroom. Documentation of medical records, of child psychologists and yes, and pediatricians.
If you could bring it to us, as soon as we get it, we'll start scanning and we'll get it up there.
Okay.
We need to get as much of this story up there as possible because people will not believe their eyes. This is happening in Indiana.
Yes.
And officials are covering up child pornography.
Yes. Well, there are 2 of the children. My son named 4 or 5 of these other children, and 2 of them attempted suicide. We've also reported this to DCS. We've reported it also to the police and state police, and nobody will listen to us to go question these children to see if this really happened. The one little boy was 7 or 8 years of age when he attempted suicide, and it was Bart's nephew who had, his mother had called my house, which they could check phone records and verify this. His mother had called my house hysterical, saying that he had done something to hurt himself. And later on, when we got the information, it was he had tried to commit suicide. He was only 7 or 8. The other little boy, it was during the time I was in hiding, and it was September the 2nd of 2003. He had jumped from a moving car trying to kill himself. And he said he had been sexually abused by Bart, and that there was numerous things that this child had done that he had acted out, and we'd been given the information to the police before all of this had started coming to the surface, but still nobody would go and question this child. He's done, him and his brother have done bomb threats to the schools, which has been in the newspapers. He had also held a gun to his grandmother's head, stating he didn't want to live anymore and he was going to take his grandmother with him, who he loved and he adored. But when we give this information to anybody, for somebody to go and check and make sure these children get the information out, somebody who can actually, who has worked with children and can get this information safely from, not somebody, we don't trust the people of Cass County, Logansport, because we've seen how they treat these kids, and they don't have their best interest. We wanted somebody that actually cared and was concerned to question these children and get to the bottom of it.
Once again, DCS is failing children and family of Indiana. This is just one more example.
Yes.
Now, normal DCS procedure, don't ask me why, but this happened in the past, and I predict it's going to happen in your case. The DCS will hire some numbskull psychologist to try to reunite the abusive father with the abused child. Has that happened in your case?
That's what's going on right now. Yes, we are. Our son has been referred to Dr. Scott at Riley Hospital. but under a gag order that was put on me and a restraining order that I'm not allowed to discuss the Chins case. I'm not allowed to tell what's transpiring, but they are working towards reunification, and that came from Dr. Scott's mouth
Now,
with the father.
I have to ask myself, what idiot would not look at all these records? I'm sure Dr. Scott has access to all these records.
We took all of these records to Dr. Scott and a videotape where we had a hidden video camera, and we had caught Noah on different occasions telling us what had transpired, what was done to him being tied up, and we took all of this information to Dr. Scott because he had asked us, he was questioning Noah's behavior and Noah's refusal to visit with his father and grandparents. He was hysterical and begging not to go.
Didn't understand his reactions to certain
Dr.
questions.
Scott didn't understand.
Yes.
Okay.
And so when we went to take this stuff to Dr. Scott, his words were to us, I have been hired to reunify this child with his father and not to go over the past and what has happened. And, we were upset and told Dr. Scott, Noah's health, everything is at stake. You've got to see what has happened to keep him safe.
It would seem to me, though, Dr. Martin has light years more experience than Dr. Scott.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Dr. Scott is very young, and Dr. Martin has been at this, he's probably in his 60s, I would say, early 60s.
See, if I was Dr. Scott, I didn't touch Dr. Martin saying, hey, what's going on here? You're more wise of a psychologist than I am.
Well, we gave him the information, and Dr. Martin has told us that he's waiting for that phone call, and he has never received it. Dr. Fox had contacted us, and she said she is waiting also to hear from Dr. Scott and has not heard anything from him either.
I predict he will not be contacted.
Well, that's what they're telling us, that they don't look for it to happen.
I have to ask a question that may be painful. If I was in Ball's position and I wanted to bury the evidence, I would take Noah out of the picture.
Well, in fact...
We had thought about that before she went into hiding.
That was one of the reasons I went into hiding, because Noah had told us something.
The grandparents had a swimming pool, and Noah was afraid of the water anyway. He had made comment that he had fallen into the pool once before, and that had crossed our mind that
and
there would be
Noah told us that they didn't jump in right away to get him out of that pool.
Right.
And so we had brought it up to our attorney, and we had told our attorney at the time, and we said that our concerns was, if this gets too bad, this gets out there too much, is revealed, that they feel threatened, we feel that they would say he accidentally drowned. Because what was so ironic was when I complained, then they were saying, well, we're going to get him swimming lessons. Mm-hmm. And something just told me they were going to use that as the excuse and say, well, we got him swimming lessons. We thought that he was safe. And then this would be a way for them to shut him up. And that this would be quieted.
I know that's a very painful thought, but if you're from Ball's perspective, and Judge Jessup,
yes,
he doesn't want Noah to talk either. So that might be something they may do to make sure that the truth never gets out. It's too late now. This video will be seen around the world, and we'll be shipping various DVDs to various different officials, different groups. But that is a thought that we have to think about. What is the current standing of this case right now as of today?
He is still in foster care and going for reunification with his father. We're told, because Judge Jessup has a current order that says that Bart is to have custody, that's what they've got to do.
And the fact that she can't have any contact with him, with Noah. With
Noah, because Judge Jessup refuses to let me have any contact with him, otherwise I go to jail.
So even if they wanted to reunify her, with him, with her, They can't do it.
They can't do it because then I would go to jail.
Now, I understand you have a very unusual Costa on your side.
Yes.
Tell me about this Costa.
You talking about the guardian ad litem?
Yes, guardian ad litem.
I can't say his name because he's part of the CHINS process.
Okay.
But he's in Grant County. He's a retired judge, and he is awesome. He has been so supportive in this, and he has fought to protect Noah. He has voiced his opinion several times to the judge and to DCS what he wants to see happen.
Yes, and he's very troubled with the fact that the grandfather, Noah's grandfather, Fred Turner,
yes,
had been arrested twice at state parks
at the Mid-Center Law
for soliciting sex from male undercover
This
officers.
is a state trooper, correct?
He was a state trooper, yes.
Yes. Yes. And the arrest, the last time that he was arrested was just here in 2005, and that was the second time. And we were sent by a prosecutor who had heard about what was going on with Noah. And it was the county in which he was arrested was so disgusted over what was going on, transpiring, that they sent us in great detail his arrest, the impound report, and in that impound report, I'll let you tell them what was in that.
They impounded his truck after he was arrested, searched his truck, found 4 male-on-male pornography magazines, found a white cloth under his front seat that appeared to have fecal matter on it. He had seen the undercover officer enter the restroom, and that's when Fred went to the restroom.
Exposed
himself. And was eventually arrested for what he was doing and saying.
The officer had asked him what was new or what was, asked him something that was just ordinary. And, he said, they asked him what he wanted, and he said he wanted to get, which I'll let you say that.
Thanks. I don't remember exactly what it was. He liked to be sucked and played with or something like that. I forget, but it was in the report.
This Fred Turner, former state trooper,
yes,
was he convicted of these charges?
Yes, he was.
The first time it was dismissed.
Yes. Without prejudice. Which they can
in,
bring it back up, they told us later.
That was in 94. And then the second time in 05,
slap on the wrist.
Slap on the wrist. He got informal probation where he couldn't be in the state parks for a year. And
that
possibly like a $500 court cost and fines. So.
I know, but the word scumbag comes to mind.
Yeah,
it really does.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't get arrested twice in that period of time and only do it twice.
So currently, right now the system is, you have an abusive grandfather who used to be a state trooper.
Yes.
Who looks like he abused his son, Balt.
Oh, absolutely.
And now Balt is continuing on the abuse to Noah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the band played on.
Yes.
It just kept going. Now, as Noah, normally when this happens, there's a time when the boy switches sides, when he accepts the abuse. Mm-hmm. Has this happened to Noah yet?
He is at the point now where he has been convinced by the doctor that this didn't happen. He
was talked through the mischaracterization of his father.
Yes,
what
that's what has been said. So Noah's accepting that he's got to go to these visits. He's still fighting the going to see the grandfather, though, and the grandmother.
Yes.
And that's the next process.
He had told his foster mother that he was accepting the fact that he was going to have to be with Bart, but told her that he was going to steal Bart's keys and get a map and leave.
And come back to Mommy.
Yes.
Now let's go over this stuff with Balt Turner, former juvenile correction officer who had his keys taken away by the sheriff because there was allegations, and we
And
presume...
instead of firing him, they put him in adult probation, and he said it was a promotion.
Yes.
Okay, and then he was kicked out of the Boy Scouts because there were contacts made.
Yes.
Well, he's also since then, he's been removed now from probation, and he's been fired from adult probation, but his boss will not reveal why he's been removed, and said that his
Boss lost confidence in him.
boss lost confidence in him, and that is the only thing that we've been able to get out.
Then we have Judge Jessup, who has done above and beyond the Call of Duty in covering this thing up.
And that's exactly what I believe he's doing. He's covering this up. There's too much there, too much evidence.
Now I understand also as well that Balt's got some letters from women in prison.
Oh, that happened when we were, well, what had happened, he was writing women, when he was a probation officer, he was carrying on relationships with women across the U.S., Florida, Michigan, Kentucky, all over, like probably 10 letters where he had corresponded back and forth with 10 different women, at least. And the judge, we brought that up to try to show the judge, Jessup, his character, and show the judge that this man was dishonest and that he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. And it's against the law, anyway, for him being a probation officer to carry on a sexual or a romantic relationship with these women. And he lied in the courtroom to Judge Jessup over and over, stating he did not have a relationship. Well, they weren't expecting me to pull out these letters that was addressed to Bart at his home, and even had Bart's writing on them. Then I had found, when I found the child porn, I had also took that with me to show the prosecutor and show them this is what's going on. You've got a man that's working for you, that's involved in child porn, that is writing women in prison, and is carrying on these relationships with these girls. And nothing was done. And Judge Jessup didn't do anything to him, even though he reprimanded him in the courtroom and told him that if he continued to lie, he would get him for perjury.
Would not tolerate lying in his courtroom.
And he would get him for contempt. But he continued to lie and got caught in even more lies. And then it ended up Judge Jessup wouldn't even allow the letters were stamped to be put into the courtroom as evidence. And at the very end, Judge Jessup decided not to allow him into the courtroom as evidence.
It sounded to me like Judge Jessup, for a few pieces of silver, would very happily crucify Christ.
Yes.
That man, I believe he's just evil.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be sitting on the bench because he's not protecting the community in any way.
We'll go and wrap this up now.
Okay.
So I need to state from you this is your name to date, and this is a true and accurate statement of your case.
Yes.
And that we're allowed to use this in any way we see fit.
Yes.
So if you just tell me that.
Okay. My name's Ken Kreighbaum. My wife, Deana.
Deana Kreighbaum.
All these statements that are made are factual, true, documented, and we are allowing HonkforKids to use it in any way that they feel fit. Oh, and it is the 17th of May, 2009.
I need you to make a similar statement just to cover everything.
Okay. And like my husband said, I agree totally with everything he said. All of this is factual. There is documents that can prove all of this that we've said. And there's people out there that need to be questioned. That's we can even give addresses. So if anybody needs, any more information, we're more than willing to give the information. And it is May 17th of 2009.
May God bless you and keep you both.
Thank you.